Okay, good morning to everyone, dear colleagues from Tartu University, from other universities. And also to our good colleagues and collaboration partners from industry. So I will start with a question. Have you ever wondered whether software and hardware could be more empathetic, more emotional, could relate to you also in emotional terms? And actually, this is important because most of the selling arguments in marketing are emotional. And that's why I'm trying to bring this also into software engineering and computer science. So I will talk a little bit about, with what I started, relevance of emotions. We'll dwell a bit on different theories of emotion, in particular theory of constructed emotion. We'll talk about emotional requirements, eliciting them explicitly in software engineering. Then we'll bring examples of a few applications. We'll answer the question I will soon pose, and we'll draw conclusions. So first, emotions are relevant in two aspects. So the first aspect is that emotional requirements should be explicitly elicited and represented. So this is often neglected. Emotional requirements are often regarded as just part of non-functional requirements, but they should be regarded as first-class citizens. And the second aspect is actually based on the first one. It is embedding emotions in actual software and also hardware systems, talking about robots. There are three basic classes of emotion theories: theories of basic emotion, appraisal theories of emotion, and dimensional emotion theories. Theories of basic emotion, they claim that we are born with emotions, that there are basic emotions that actually come from that ape in us, from the tree. And these are happy, sad, being afraid, being angry, being surprised, being disgusted. But there are other emotion theories that make different claims. There are appraisal theories of emotion that are saying that emotions are situation-based. They are based on some situations consisting of one or more life events, and then we evaluate that situation in a very simplistic way. Is it good or bad? And then in accordance with that, emotions are triggered. How do we relate to that life event? And then the fourth element are our actions. So how do we react? What do we do to deal with that situation? And then there are dimensional emotion theories which claim that emotions should be viewed along 2 to 4 different dimensions. Here you can see two most widely used dimensions: arousal, and then another dimension is pleasantness. And for example, then you can see that being excited has high arousal and is quite pleasant. Happy has somewhat lower arousal, but is even more pleasant. While we go to negative emotions that are not that pleasant, then we see that sad is quite unpleasant but has relatively low arousal, while tired out has considerably lower arousal than sad. So at least two dimensions. And now, most recently, there is the theory of constructed emotion, which is based on recent findings in neuroscience and cognitive psychology. And this theory claims that emotions are constructed in terms of affects in three contexts. And affects are exactly the things that are represented here. So these are not, according to the theory of constructed emotion, these being happy, being excited, being nervous, being afraid, are just affects, which are not actually emotions, as emotions are much more complex, constructed things, but they are much simpler feelings. And these are exactly the building blocks for emotions. And according to the theory of constructed emotion, emotions are socially constructed in terms of affects in three important contexts: in the moment interactions that we are engaged, in our relationships, and also cultural contexts. So according to the theory of constructed emotion, emotions are culture dependent, in contrast to the theory of basic emotion, which is emotions are universal. And emotions are constructed with a purpose to maintain the body balance according to the situations and goals. So all changes that occur in us with emotions, they are actually the purpose of those changes is to regulate our internal body balance through regulating like heartbeat and blood pressure and sweating. So all of this is required to maintain the body balance. And for example, romantic love is a good example of constructed emotion. And emotions are always goal-based. Here the goal is experience romantic love. The emotions that are associated are passionate, longing, and lustful. And here an important aspect is co-construction. So here there are two sides, and emotions are co-constructed, meaning that the body balance of both sides is changing in a coordinated manner. And this aspect of co-construction is also important between humans and software. When we talk about intelligent software agents, then humans, they're users of such agents, and the intelligent software agents, on the other hand, should be engaged in co-constructing emotions. Another example is a bit more complicated. It is an example of a Japanese emotion, mono no aware. And here the goal, as emotions are always goal-based, according to the theory of constructed emotion, the goal is to experience the transience and impermanence of life. And this is about an emotion where we are happy. We are with our loved ones. We are very happy about the situation. And then we start thinking that at some point they will depart from us, especially the older ones, and that brings to our mind thoughts about the impermanence of life here, that we're going to die at some moment. And all in all, this is creating a very complex emotion which entails feeling love, sadness, and being overwhelmed all at the same time. And according to Lisa Feldman-Barrett, who is one of the main researchers behind the theory of constructed emotion, emotions are not the reactions to the world, but they are our constructions to the world. And this example illustrates it very well. Emotion concepts are probabilistically constructed based on our previous experiences in particular situations. So here the situation-based construction of emotion is important. So we are actually in different situations, like I'm talking here. I've actually done such talks before. Now my brain actually fetched a similar situation from the past, giving a talk, and now it is adapting this situation, the current one, to the previous one, to the most similar one. But this is happening very fast. So without subconsciously, largely subconsciously for me, but as a result, I'm able to deliver this talk, and hopefully also at some emotional level. And as I already said, emotion concepts serve goals to be achieved. And the importance of words is very important in forming emotion concepts, already starting from children, going to adults. And this means that emotional requirements, when we go now to software engineering, eliciting and representing requirements, they should be represented in terms of emotion concepts and emotion words. So the words are much more important than we think, actually. And here is an example of eliciting and representing emotional requirements. It's from the Pharaon project. It's a Horizon 2020 EU project with many industry partners involved, one of them sent up from Estonia. And this is an example of how we elicit and represent emotional requirements in that project. We have here functional requirements, starting with the highest level goal, improve well-being, which is elaborated into lower level goals, get informed about monitoring, monitor health, monitor environment, trigger alarm, and discuss results. So all these serve the improvement of well-being. And we have here some quality or non-functional goals, meaning that this kind of system, that the requirements for which are represented here should be easy to use, secure, automatic, comfortable, and so on. And now, importantly, we have emotional requirements. This is about emotions. It should construct in the users and stakeholders of this kind of system, which are safe, empowered, informed, so that the older adults in this case would feel this way, feeling safe, for example, or feeling empowered. And also that triggering alarm would construct the feeling of being reassured, and discussing results would construct emotions cared for, aware, and once more reassured. And this was the aspect of requirements engineering, and the second aspect are emotion-aware software, like emotion-aware chatbots. And here, an interesting thing that actually takes us directly to also to big data is that it has been shown that the computational complexity of a general purpose architecture for implementing the theory of constructed emotion I was just trying to explain is far too high. And that's why this kind of architecture should be based on corpuses of emotion, words, and expressions. And there are such corpuses available. And this could be extended also with big data, with information that is actually retrieved from the web, for example. But this is still a work in progress. Here is an example of one of the projects we conducted. It's a master's project, a master's thesis by Alar Kirikal, where actually he implemented a prototypical emotional chatbot that relates to the user emotionally and asks questions about the day and so on, and relates to the answers. And this is exactly based on the theory of constructed emotion. About other applications, there are applications for older adults, I already touched upon, applications for mental health, serious games, and also interactive digital narratives. Applications for older adults, definitely, the emotions are important, as older adults are in general quite sensitive and fragile about emotional aspects. Here is an example by my colleagues from Australia about applications for mental health, how this kind of application looks like for psychotic patients. This is a serious game of Aspergion that is meant to help teenagers to cope with other teenagers who suffer from autism. And here is an example of an interactive digital narrative, Princess Maker, which is about a father or mother raising a daughter. So the meaning is that the mother or father, the user, is a part of the narrative, and is in this case raising a daughter, taking care of that daughter's personal life as well as education and career. And this provides quite educational experience for the player. That one of my colleagues has stated that actually this has proved useful for her in guiding and supervising her PhD students. These are a few references to our recent publications, and this is an ongoing work on this topic area. And finally, I would like to emphasize that the theory of constructed emotion is relevant in computer science because, first, it provides a solid foundation for elicitation and representation of emotional requirements. And the second, it provides a solid foundation for the actual engineering of emotion-aware software like chatbots in one of the examples here. And conclusions. So we should think about emotions when we design software. We should think about situations where the software is going to be used, and the emotions such situations will actually will involve. We should treat emotional requirements as first-class citizens, separately from non-functional requirements when engineering software applications. And the third thing, that algorithms based on corpuses of emotion words and expressions provide practical solutions because of the complexity problems. And this is where actually my work closely relates to big data. So thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Kuldar, for the nice talk. Any questions from the audience? Well, if not, then I hope I can ask one question. So the slide you discussed about mental health issues really resonated. I mean, to think about the current situation in the education, the distance learning and all that stuff, then could this type of applications that you've developed could be like used in the regular schools during the COVID pandemic, or how far are we from actually using?
Actually, yes. So I think such things have already been implemented, as this was an example of prototypical. Okay, it was prototypical example, but still, actually, my colleagues in Australia, in this case, actually, they were using it in the real context already. So I think if there is interest by industry, then certainly, actually, we could work together on those issues.
Right. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And next we're going to hear about, well, actually, what is the next big thing in big data?